So you moved out all alone, and now you're lonely. So you want to get a pet.
In this video, we're going to talk about how much it costs to actually own a pet.
Oh yeah. So, if you're new to this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the comments below. Let us know if you want to get a pet or not. We both have pets. They're fun, they're cuddly, they make us
lovable.
laugh and smile. They're just so exciting. You get one and before you know it, they become part of the family and you couldn't ever imagine what life was like before they came.
Everybody thinks having a pet is just so simple. You go to the Humane Society or the pet store or a breeder, or you take in a stray off the street, and then boom, you got a pet. But there's a lot more to it than just that.
Like we said, we both have animals. Alex has a dog and a cat, and then I had a dog and still currently have a cat. Unfortunately, my 140-pound Rottweiler that I have, his name was Max, super lovable, would hang out with the kids, play with everybody, super friendly, super nice.
He was an idiot.
Always ran away.
It was the dumbest dog ever.
And he was in permanent puppy mode forever. Anyways, he ran away all the time, right? We tried everything. We tried getting gates. We tried electrical barriers. We tried getting trainers. Everything. We even got him neutered. But, after about 3 years of him continuously running off, he ran away, got into my neighbor's backyard, and killed their chickens. Okay? One of the chickens they had for 8 years, and his name was Butters. Okay? It just, was a big, bad situation for the family.
Butters.
They brought him back to me, my dog, and I felt terrible. I offered to, hey, I'm so sorry. Would you like me to replace your chickens? Now, obviously, no, replacing their chickens doesn't replace their chickens, but, I was just trying to be nice and what have you. But they were like, no, we don't want it, but your dog really is going to have to go. And I was like, okay, I understand. I'm very sorry. So I did end up rehoming my dog, gave him to one of my friends who has a lot of acreage. So now he still gets to live, be happy and be free. And there's no chickens. But, it could have went a lot worse for me. They could have called the authorities and he could have had to get put down. And I could have been fined. So, pet stuff.
So like I said, there's a lot more to just owning an animal than giving it a home. And to be honest, Philip got super lucky with his dog Max because if they decided to press charges, you can be in legal trouble. The owner is held responsible for whatever that animal does. So whether it harms another animal or another person, you are responsible for that. So just know that you could end up in that kind of situation if your animal, doesn't behave the way that an animal should behave.
Yeah, absolutely. When you get a pet, you're going to pay for things right out of the gate unless you're getting this animal off the street. If you get it from a shelter or a breeder or wherever, you're going to pay money to get that pet, and then you're going to pay money to keep that pet alive over its lifetime.
So even if you get a rescue pet from the Humane Society or you adopt it, there's a lot of other fees going to actually paying. So sometimes there's a $100 adoption fee all the way up to a $500 adoption fee, depending if you have a mixed breed dog or a purebred animal, and that's just the start of it. But those fees typically cover things like getting your animal vaccinated, spayed and neutered, microchipped, and sometimes they'll even throw in heartworm medication. So there's a lot of things that go into those initial adoption fees, and then beyond that, you have the additional costs that come with just keeping your animal alive every month. So it gets expensive real quick.
Absolutely. Outside of a Humane Society, most first-time pet owners are going to be getting their pets from pet stores. But many animal lovers actually frown against this because these pet stores, they're getting their pets from, high-volume breeders like puppy mills and cat mills and stuff. And typically those animals aren't always treated the greatest.
The average cost of getting a dog or a cat from a pet store can be upwards of $1,000.
That's an iPhone. You want a cat? Or you want an iPhone?
It's a lot of money.
A lot of money.
But cat's like a little friend. You can have it all the time. So anyways, there's no real benefit that comes from getting an animal from a pet store. We would definitely recommend getting it from, rescue or getting it from a breeder. That's a much better way to go than just going to a pet store.
Yeah. Not much benefit of buying a pet from a store. They typically don't come spayed or neutered, and they're not always vaccinated like they would if you got it from a Humane Society or a breeder. If you're looking for a particular breed of pet, you can buy it from a pet store or from a breeder. But depending on the breed, you might be paying a pretty penny for that breed. If you're going to get your future pet from a breeder, You want to make sure that these breeders are going to be reputable and either licensed or unlicensed. Unlicensed breeders are known as those backyard breeders, and they're not always, taking the best care of their pets. They're just selling for profit, and they might not have all of their vaccinations and etc. So when you're looking at these breeders, just make sure you do your research on them and make sure that their pets are well taken care of. If you're looking for a particular breed of pet, you can buy from a pet store or a breeder. But depending on the breed, you should be expecting to pay a pretty penny. If you're going to get your future pet from a breeder, you're going to want to make sure that this breeder is reputable. Now, there's going to be two different types of breeders. You're going to have your licensed and your unlicensed breeders. All right. Your licensed breeders are going to provide you with papers that are going to prove that this dog or cat is what breed they say they are. And then the unlicensed breeders are going to be the pets that are going to be coming from backyard breeders, where you'll see people selling these animals on Facebook or Craigslist or something like that. And these people might not always be taking the best care of their pets. So just make sure that they are, because they're typically selling those pets for profit, not necessarily, for the pet's best interest. So they're like, you got money? Here's this pet. Goodbye. Versus licensed breeders going to be like, we're going to do a background check on you, and you need to do these things before we give you this pet.
So for me, my last two dogs, my current dog and my dog before that, we got from backyard breeders, and they've been great. We actually got our boxers, so I own boxers, and we got our first boxer from a backyard breeder. I think we paid like $600 for her when the going rate was like $1,500 at the time. If she had come from a breeder that was licensed and had papers, and to be honest, I don't care about papers. I'm never going to show anybody the papers. I'm not taking my dog to competitions. She was a great dog, and actually she was the runt of the litter, so I got a discount. Turned out to be an amazing dog. She lived for like 10 years, which is a decent lifespan for a boxer. Yeah. And then my current dog we got from another breeder. But like Philip said, they're not always going to take the best care of the animals. So when we got her, I think they gave her to us a week or two early, like they shouldn't have. And she was a little malnourished. I mean, she was like skin and bones. So we just fattened her up, and she's been a great dog. Yeah. But I could care less about papers. So backyard breeders, depending on who you go through, it's not a bad thing. I mean, unless you care about having papers and certified, all that stuff. So,
yeah. My dog, Max, came from a backyard breeder. But he might have came out feet first and kind of got stuck in there head first for a little bit, He was
had a lot of oxygen cut off.
Yeah, he was a little doopy.
A little?
Maybe some inbred, maybe. I don't know.
Probably one of the dumbest dogs I've ever met.
He's a good dog.
Yeah, he's nice, just real dumb.
He was so big. He was very, very big.
140 pounds. He's a massive dog.
And he would like jump up and kiss you in the mouth and stuff. So like if you weren't expecting it, you'd be like, God, what happened?
In the middle of the night?
I've been mauled.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he's like, hi, friend.
Hi. Yeah, like that.
That's how he spoke, if he had a voice than human.
Okay, so if you're looking for a very particular breed of animal and you have the money, then going through a licensed breeder is probably the way to go. I mean, I didn't do that because I was pretty broke when I first got my dog 10, 12 years ago, and then now I'm just cheap, so I wasn't about to do it. But if you can afford it and you really want to, it's probably the ideal way to go because they're going to breed out any of the medical issues that come with it or behavioral issues, so it's going to save you a lot of time and money down the road.
Mm-hmm. Selective breeding.
Right. Shut up. Hi. So the papers you get from these licensed breeders verifies that the animals haven't been mixed with any other breed of animal, right? So to some people that's super important, right? They don't want any mutts. But they're not going to release these papers to you until you prove to them that your animal has been spayed or neutered, right? Because they don't want you to take a purebred and go mix it with some other animal.
Yeah.
So, if that's important to you, maybe you go through the AKC, which is the American Kennel Club for dogs, or the CFA, which is the Cat Fanciers Association for cats.
Oh, yeah. Having animals isn't cheap. Just like we had just mentioned up above about how much it costs to get an animal, you're still going to have to pay money every month to keep that animal alive. I mean, you're going to have to pay for grooming costs, for food, any toys and equipment that you're going to need. You're going to need to pay for medical costs if there are any, but still you got to get your vaccines, your neuters. I mean, and hopefully nothing else happens down the line, but if so, you got to account for that and be ready for it.
Because life happens, and I'll tell you what, when I was young and newly married and I had two little kids, I decided to get two boxers, and they're freaking expensive, right? When you don't have a whole lot of money, because I think I was making just over minimum wage at the time, and paying for two dogs to eat and we had to have insurance for them, right? Because they're young animals and sometimes they're dumb. And one of my dogs went and ate a bunch of socks and rocks and everything else I could find, and it cost me a couple $1,000s in a surgery to keep that stupid animal alive. But I loved it, and I was a sucker, and I paid for it. So there's a lot of different costs that come along with owning an animal beyond just, getting it home and paying for food.
But don't worry, we're going to tell you what all that stuff is. Stay tuned.
Hey!
But I hear them!
So according to the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals,
the ASPCA,
the average price for a medium-sized dog per year is $894 in costs, right? To keep that animal alive, right? And then it's going to go up or down depending on the size of the animal. But for a cat, it averages out to be about $800 a year. So it's not really that much cheaper to feed a cat, because not only feeding a cat, you got to pay for cat litter, right? Where you're not paying for dog litter. So just know that the bigger the dog, like Max, 140-pound Rottweiler, I almost called him a rat. I'm sure you were paying twice what I pay for my boxer that's 65, 70 pounds. So, that can be really expensive. And if you're living paycheck to paycheck and you can't afford a whole lot, $894 a year in an extra cost for a little furry friend, it's a lot of money.
So for all that stuff that Alex was talking about, that's going to be about $70 a month to keep your pet alive. All right. The ASPCA estimates that it's costing about $25 a month to feed a medium-sized dog and $20 a month to feed a cat premium brand pet food. Okay. Now you're also going to have to take into account their toys, litter, scratching post, kennel, what have you, leash, collars. And then you have to think about the health insurance for the pet. All right. On average, there's a $20 health insurance for the dog, $15 health insurance for the cat. Now, we pay more than that for whatever reason. We're going to have to look into it.
Yeah,
Banfield.
Pay like $35 a month.
It's not even health insurance. It's like a health plan, which allows like so many checks and so much medications and a discount on spay and neuter and stuff. But, like if your cat or dog got hit by a car, you still have to pay like all the medical bills. So, I don't know.
So for your basic expenses, like a crate or kennel, a litter box, all your vaccinations and spay, neutering, all that stuff, the ASPCA estimates that it's about $600 up front for a medium-sized dog, and then another $400 for a cat. Or not another $400, but a separate $400 for a cat.
I paid so much more money than that for training for my dog, and
it didn't even work.
I mean, he listened to me, but he only listened to me, and I don't know why. Other people tell him to do something, and he'd just be like, and obviously if I wasn't there, I mean, he needed to listen, but he wouldn't. So,
poor Butters.
Rest in peace, Butters. I really hope those neighbors don't ever see this video. By the way, neighbors, if you watch this video, I am, again, sorry about that. So, sorry. Anyways, with these two costs combined, the ASPCA guesses that you're going to spend $1,800 for a medium-sized dog and $1,200 for a cat. I mean, and that's not even including just the random stuff that you're going to have to get. This is just like, the stuff that you need. It's not going to be the stuff that you need to pay for to have them live at your house or to have a yard for them to play in. This is just for you to keep them alive.
Holy crap, that's a lot of money. And on top of that, if you're renting somewhere, you got to pay a deposit or a monthly pet fee for those animals. So I'm renting a house right now while I'm waiting for my house to be built, and I had to pay a deposit. I think it's $150 per animal because I got a dog and a cat. So that's a $300 initial deposit that I'm not going to get back for them. And I mean, mainly that's because if my animals aren't trained, well then if they piss in the house, that's disgusting, and it's so hard to get that smell out, right? So then you got to pay for special cleaners to come in, hopefully be able to get it out of your carpet so the next person that comes and rents doesn't have the house smell like animal urine, right? Or chewed up baseboards or whatever they're going to do to it.
Yep. I mean, if it's not like an initial upfront deposit, sometimes there's a monthly pet fee that they can add, and that could be like $25 a pet or $50 a pet. It's really going to be up to the landlord's discretion on what it's going to be. I mean, depending on the size of the pet or the type of pet, it could be more or less. So remember that. Also, don't forget about breed restrictions. I mean, this is typically going to apply to dogs, but don't think that you can live in your 1,000 square foot apartment with a tiger, okay? This is not 2020 anymore. Tiger King is in the past, okay? Okay. Now, even if you rent, or excuse me, even if you own your home, you still might get affected by these breed restrictions, all right? So my dog Max originally came from my cousin who had just bought a house into a homeowners association, and Rottweilers, German Shepherds, Pit Bulls weren't allowed into the homeowners association. So when Max was like 3 months old, my cousin called me and offered him to me. My previous Rottweiler had passed away due to old age, so she knew that I was kind of looking around for a dog and offered me Max, and that's how I got him. You can sometimes get around these with your renters if you provide like liability insurance for your pet. You know, so you have your renter's insurance or your homeowner's insurance. You can get insurance on your pet as well, just in case he bites somebody or damages something. That insurance will cover, you know, that type of expense. So sometimes you can use that, but most of the time you can't.
Pets are freaking expensive, right? There's other kinds of pets you can get too if you don't want to pay all this money for dogs and cats, which, I mean, a lot of people like furry friends. But if that's not your thing, you know, you got birds and snakes and turtles and rats or hamsters or whatever you're into. I don't know. But on average, those are only like $50 to $150 a year. So they're a lot less expensive than the low furry friends.
Yeah. Those are called those low maintenance pets. Yeah. Get some fish. You'll be fine. Like we've been saying, pets are expensive. So you need to check your budget to make sure you can afford one. If you don't have a budget, you need to click on this link right here and watch that video. There you have it. Are you still going to get a pet? Can you afford one? Let us know in the comments below. If you like this video, make sure you hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe.
And then make sure you share this video with your friends if they're thinking about getting an animal, because they need to know this information too.
See you next time.